Over the last couple of weeks, the crypto market has been extremely hard to navigate, quite frankly. I mean, some cryptos have pumped, most cryptos have dumped. There's uncertainty everywhere, and no one really knows exactly what's going to happen over the coming weeks and the coming months. Now, as a result of this, a lot of crypto investors, especially newer ones, are really kind of just sitting around wondering, what in the world should we be doing right now? I mean, should we be buying? Should we be selling? Should we just be holding? What is the best move here? And so, kind of knowing that's how many people are feeling, what I wanted to do today is create a quick video for you all, just kind of talking about what I'm doing in my own portfolios. I made 3 purchases within my main portfolio, and I made 2 purchases within my beginner portfolio, and I think they were pretty decent plays. And so what I wanted to do is just share those with you today, not for you to copy, but for you to see exactly kind of like what my mindset and thoughts are during times like this to help you build up your own strategies and develop your own game plans for moments that happen like this now and of course in the future. And so with that in mind, today what we're going to do is we're actually going to break it up pretty simply. We're going to start with the most risky things that I've done in my portfolio. I do like to take little gambles and risks here and there just to kind of see what happens. And then we're going to go all the way down to the least risky things that I think make the most sense, especially in terms of risk versus reward. And so with that in mind, let's actually start with the main portfolio since I do take bigger risks in my main portfolio. And then we'll get into the beginner portfolio towards the second half of the video. So looking at, of course, the main portfolio, let's talk about the very first update that I did do. The first thing that I did was I took a gamble on Solaxy, which is a pre-sale, and that's just for later on. Now, before I even talk about that, I need to put a disclaimer out there for you all. Please do understand, we are not in altcoin season. We are not in meme coin season. And now is not the time to be taking crazy big gambles on any microcaps, any pre-sales, or anything like that. But I do believe that history has shown me, at least, that during periods like this, putting some small bids on pre-sales and on microcaps isn't a terrible idea, because what usually happens is you can lock them in at ridiculously good prices because they usually fall a lot during times like this. And then whenever the market does turn around, you usually can see some pretty strong X's. So what I actually ended up doing was taking some of the profits that I made, that I took from like November and December, and I threw a little bit of that into a pre-sale like this one. Now, I was kind of caught in a balance between whether I wanted to do a pre-sale or whether I wanted to do a micro cap, because I was only going to do one. If I was going to do 5 purchases, I only wanted one of them to be risky. And the reason I decided pre-sale was because it's not launched yet. And to me, this makes a lot of sense because, quite frankly, what you can do with the pre-sale game is you can get in on moments like now, which generally they are at lower prices. You can get them pretty early on, and they'll usually wait to launch until the market gets better, right? And so what I'm able to actually do is not take much downside risk, because it's not like a micro cap in which the price will just fall off a cliff. I can just get in, the price will stay flat while the market's bad, and then when the market picks up, they'll usually launch, then I can make some gains. And so that's why I do prefer pre-sales during moments like this. I guess the only risk is that they never launch, whereas versus a micro cap, they're already launched. So it's kind of just a game you got to balance and figure out what you want to do, but it is the way that I like to go about it. Now, the reason why I did pick up Solaxy is because they're just following the same template as all the other ones that I've invested into over the last year or two. As you all know, we made some ridiculously high rewards on multi-layered pre-sales. And if you don't know what a multi-layered pre-sale is, basically the way it works is, like, for a certain period of time, the price is at, say, 1 cent. And then 2 days later, it goes up to 1.01 cents. And then 2 days later, it goes up to 1.02 cents. So over time, what actually ends up happening is that the price increases as the days go by. So to me, it made even more sense as well, because I'm like, well, most cryptos are going to go down in price right now. This one is going to for sure go up from where I do buy it right now. And the game is just seeing if it stays up once it launches, which is a game I'm willing to play. So I feel like, again, the downside risk is not very high. I feel like the upside risk is pretty solid. So I'm down to play the game and just kind of see what happens. And that's why I said, guys, I mean, I made it clear here. I took a gamble on this because that's what it is, but it's a gamble worth taking, in my opinion. Now, what they're doing is they're creating an L2 for Solana. And I thought this was pretty interesting because everyone always says Solana doesn't need an L2. To some degree, I do agree because it is so fast and the transactions are so cheap. But at the end of the day, Solana breaks down still to this day, right? And so because of that, I think kind of removing some of those transactions off chain to some degree could make some sense in order to free up some of the space on Solana to limit the amount of breakdowns that do happen. So I do think there could be a need for this. I think there could be a use for it. And I've not really seen many Solana L2s pop up before. And so considering they're taking an approach from a utility basis that makes sense to me, I thought it made even more sense as well. Quite frankly, guys, I don't really care about the utility case when it comes to pre-sales. I'm always just looking for the gains. I'm looking for a good price, looking for good gains. I'm looking to lock in profits. That's what I'm looking for. The utility is just kind of the cherry on top, because the utility will get other people to invest, right? I mean, you can see they raised $22 million in their pre-sale. So That's just the cherry on top for me. And it comes as a result of the utility. But I'm much less concerned about the utility. I'm more concerned about the way in which the pre-sales approach, when they launch, how good of a price I can get in, and much more. Because when you're dealing with pre-sales and microcaps, it's all about a gains game and much less a utility game, at least in my opinion. Now, overall, they are keeping it very simple. As I mentioned before, they do have Solaxy, in which, of course, you can use their actual token, which is going to be launched on the Solaxy L2 blockchain. And then, of course, they have meme coin Galaxy, in which meme coins are driving Solana, and some would say the entire blockchain industry forward. Solaxy's customized and transaction bundling make high volume trading infinitely scalable, ensuring the best meme coin experience. Of course, zero downtime, meme coin Galaxy, as we mentioned before, much more. So very simple stuff here. They're creating a layer 2 for Solana to try to help remove some of those transactions off of Solana and introduce a place in which maybe some of these meme coins, which some of you feel both ways about, some of you hate, some of you love, they can have a place in which they can have their own home and maybe pull it a bit off of Solana. Now, the good part about it is as well, they are actually working on this, and that's what you like to see. You can go look at just some of the dev updates, and over the last couple months, they have been giving updates on how this has been going, kind of showing that the integrations are getting rolled out and much more. And so all of this to say, I know this is a little long-winded, my bad, is that I think it makes sense. It makes sense to me. It makes sense for my portfolio. I think that the downside, at least right now, is limited because the price is at least going to stay at where I bought it at until the actual launch does come, where most microcaps that you buy right now could very well drop until then. And so with that in mind, I thought it was a pretty solid play, pretty good one. And so I'll leave the link down below if you want to check it out. And yeah, so this is the first thing that I did in my portfolio. And obviously, glaringly the most risky thing that I did in my portfolio. Now, the next thing up that I did do is I actually reinvested some profits back into SWE. Now, as many of you know, whenever it comes to SWE, we took some profits off the table back in December. So I told you all back in December, hey, I don't like what we're seeing right here. I said the fact that SWE is putting in an ascending channel is very, very spooky to me. And history says that these ascending channels will almost always break down. 90% of the time, they will break down. And when they break down, you're usually going to see that crypto come back to what are called its bounce zones. And these bounce zones are levels where you can expect the bulls to start stepping back in. And while we were up here, I told you, like, listen, we might see SWE's price. If we're going to the bottom bounce zone, we could see SWE fall 40%. And everybody was screaming and yelling, saying that that was not possible, but I just didn't care. I was like, all right, I'm taking some profits. So I took some profit off the table right here, and I took even more profit off the table right here, closing down somewhere around 10 to 12% of my entire SWE position around this little area. If I remember correctly, it might have been like 8 or 9%, but roughly 8, 12%, something like that. Now, you all know my strategy though, is I don't really just take profit and just leave it alone. I will always break up my profit into 3 different areas. Okay. So whenever I take profit, this is my strategy. I take some of that profit and just completely remove it from crypto in general. I'll use it to buy stocks. I'll use it to buy real estate. I'll spend it on my wife. I don't know. I just do something else with it. I get it out of crypto. I take some of the profit as well, and that's usually about a third. I take that's usually more. It's usually kind of about 40%, 45% roughly. I'll just pull it completely out of crypto. Then I'll take another 20, 25%, and I'll rotate that into other plays. So maybe I'll rotate that into Ando, or maybe I'll rotate that into HBAR, right? Something that I think has moving potential that could make more gains with my gains, because I obviously want to get that compound effect. And then I take some of it, usually a little bit less, like 15, 20%, and I'll save that last percentage and I'll just kind of put it to the side. And what I'll do is I'll save it for when that crypto I took profits off of goes down. Because I like the crypto, I have long-term faith in it, and I took profits not because I don't believe in it anymore, but simply just because it was a good time to take profits. And so what I'll do is I'll reinvest some of that money back in, some of the profit that I took back in once it does fall. And so what I actually did today, earlier today, was I took some of the profit or the cash that I had set aside from this profit taking back here and actually re-injected it back in here. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys, it wasn't much. It was probably 10% of the profit that I took, maybe about closer to 8.5, 9% of the profit that I took, the percentage of that I saved to reinvest back in here. So why did I do it right here? Well, I didn't really have a fantastic reason. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It just kind of felt right. A lot of the times when I'm dollar cost averaging, I just go with my gut. Obviously, there are some technical indicators that say it's probably not a terrible time. I mean, if you look at something like your RSI, for example, right, you can see that it is starting to show signs of bullishness here. We are very, very low. Obviously, could go a little bit lower, but we are very low. We're back around that 37 threshold. It seems to be in a decent spot there. If you look at your Bollinger Bands, for example, we did come all the way to the bottom side of your Bollinger Band envelope. You look at something like your Elliott's waves, and you can kind of see here that we are seemingly coming towards the end of what could be this C wave. And so all of these things tell me, especially as SWE is trying its absolute best to build some support right here, which is that bounce zone, that this could be a decent time to just get back in. I mean, from where I took profits, it is now down 40 to 42%. And so to me, it's like, okay, well, starting to get back in when we're now down 40 to 50%, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I did reinvest some of my profits from back here back into Sweet. And so that was kind of my strategy. And if again, you don't believe me on, that I took those profits and stuff, you can head over to the Discord and you can see it for yourself. Now, speaking of the Discord, I will let you guys know before we do continue, I actually do post all of this stuff in the Discord well before it does make the YouTube channel. So for example, what you're about to see about the beginner's portfolio in a second here, and then also what I'm talking about right now with Sui and Ando and Solaxy and many more, I do post all of this over in the Discord server. The Discord server is linked to the school, and I'm going to tell you all about the school and all of the stuff that we offer here in the school towards the end of the video. So do feel free to stick around towards the end of the video if that is interesting to you. Now, moving a little bit forward, what is the next move that we did make here? We can see here that I added more at my average cost for Ando. As many of you know, I actually did started buying Ando for the first time not super long ago. I'm looking for that Ando position here. And what you can see, I did start buying some Ando right around this $1.25, $1.30 level back here. And the reason why I did that was honestly because I saw Ando as it was kind of making this move up around $1. And I just felt like it was too high. Like Ando was obviously running. It was doing super good. And I felt like it was going to reset and correct at some given point. And so I didn't end up buying any of it like right around these levels. And it did continue upwards all the way up towards $2, which did make me have a lot of regret. But I told myself, the moment that it starts giving me a pullback, the moment it really starts resetting, that's when I'm going to go in. I'm going to start adding to my Ando bag because I feel like I just learned about it too late and I needed to just wait out this run that it was in. Well, I am glad that I did that because now I feel a little bit more confident. I'm more confident buying Ando right here than I would have been right here, quite simply just because you never know when that pullback is going to happen, right? The downside risk while you're going upwards is much higher than the downside risk of when you're going downwards. And so, yeah, I did some purchasing on Ando right here, of course, as we were seeing the price coming back down. And of course, now we're back around those levels. And so the easiest way to explain the reason why I did some Ando purchasing today was we're just back towards my average cost, right? I started buying in some roughly right around here. My average cost is right around $1.30 to $1.25. We made a nice little run. My Ando bag actually did see some pretty sizable gains. I think we were up at one point like 20-30%, but it is back down now. It is struggling a little bit after we did run into this resistance point up here. And what you can see is we're now back right around that average cost, a little bit lower than my average cost at this point. And so because of that, I was like, you know what? Why not? I do have the goal of getting Ando up to around 1 to 1.5% of my total bag, my total main portfolio. It's not close to that. It's like 0.2, 0.3%. And so considering I would like to add a little bit more Ando to my bag over the long term, I'm like, you know what? Why not? Why not buy a little bit more right now while we are in a pretty fearful point in the market and we're right around my average cost? Now, I will let you know if this is the bear market, if the bear market did just start, although I don't believe that is the case, it is possible. I'm probably going to go negative on my Ando position. It wouldn't shock me whatsoever if the bear market does start and Ando falls all the way back towards, like 60, 50, 40 cents isn't out the question. So I am still saving a lot of cash on the side. And again, it's not even 1% of my main portfolio just because I did buy it so late, but I am willing to kind of take that risk and that gamble with some of my portfolio position sizing and just going to kind of play it out. If it does fall that low, obviously that will present me with a fantastic opportunity to get it up to my 1% or 1.5% goal without actually having to spend that much money, right? Because I'll be able to buy so much Ando at some of these cheaper prices. My average cost will be much lower than it is now. And then eventually when the market does rebound and recover, well, I'll be able to lock in some pretty sizable gains and get it up to 1.5% of my total bag with a good bit of Ando, right? So it's kind of a win-win. It's just a game of like, okay, well, do we make some gains now? Or do I get the opportunity to get a lower average cost and then get some gains later in the future? That's the game that I'm playing, but I'm willing to play that game. When you do look at Ando, another thing I did notice as well, let me see if I can get this pulled up for you here. Let me just give this a refresh. I don't know why it looks like that. That looks weird. Boom, let's do this, and then let's do this. What you can see here is that everyone who is leverage trading Ando for the most part is betting that it's going to go down. There's over $50 million worth of liquidations that will happen on Ando if its price does start to recover. And so whenever I do see such a high favorance and liquidations to the upside, it is another good reason to, just do a little dollar cost averaging to me, because it will be very easy for Ando to make some sort of bounce to try to liquidate all those short traders. And so because of that, overall, it looked like a win-win to me. I get to buy back in at my average cost, get closer to my bag size goal, and we'll just kind of just see what happens. And so with that in mind, that was the third purchase that I did over in the main portfolio. And that was actually the last purchase that I did in the main portfolio, as you can see here again from what I posted in the school. Now, going a little bit more into the beginner portfolio, what we can see here is that I actually did add a little bit of Solana and add a little bit of Bitcoin. Now, as many of you know, I made a video not too long ago here on the channel. I told you all about the beginner portfolio that I was creating. I told you I was going to build a portfolio that was very, very, very easy to follow, very easy to understand, that I think over an extended period of time, a couple years, any beginner or anyone in general could make money off of. I think everybody overcomplicates this whole crypto thing. I think everybody tries to make like the whole crypto scene this much more like complex and hard to understand game that ever, like, you need to leverage trade and you need to be getting in on meme coins and pre-sales. Like, you need to do all this crazy stuff to win. And I just don't believe that's the case. I think you can keep it extremely simple if you do want to make money here in the world of crypto. And I wanted to kind of prove that to people by starting it here on the channel live in front of all of you, completely transparently, so you can see what I mean. I'm actually going to get my channel pulled up right here, because if you do want to go check out that video that I did make, let me get this pulled up for you. If you do want to check out the video that I did make, it is available for you right over here. There we go. It was this one. I started a new crypto portfolio to prove to anyone that I can make, to prove anyone can make money in crypto. About 14 minutes long, talking about what I added and why I added it. So feel free to go check that out if you do want. But yeah, I added two things to it today, which was Solana and some Bitcoin. Now, the reason why I did this was because Solana was in fear. Literally, it's just that simple. I bought a little bit of Solana. Let me see what price. I think I put the price here. Yeah, I bought a little Solana at $168.96, and that was yesterday morning. And currently, we're sitting a little bit above that, like barely above it, but that's not the point. The primary reason as to why I did buy some Solana here is, again, because everybody was scared of it. Everybody's worried about March 1st. Everybody's worried about these unlocks. Everyone thinks Solana's price is just going to capitulate and die. Everybody thinks that the end of the run is here for Solana. And don't get me wrong, they might be right, but I'm willing to take a gamble whenever people are scared. It's the same thing that happened in my main portfolio. When I was buying Solana way down here because everybody was screaming that it was the end of days for Solana, it's the same thing that I was doing way back here whenever Solana saw its very first pullback in 2021 and everybody thought that its all-time high was in. It's the same thing that I'm doing here. When people get scared and when they get fearful and they think Solana's over, that's when I start dollar cost averaging. Now, is there a lot of, not a lot, but is there a decent amount of risk purchasing here? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Solana's still sitting very high. It's not even really seen a mass capitulation at this given point yet. So sure, it still could fall at some given point to $125 or it's $70 or $80. That is still possible. I don't particularly think that's the most likely scenario, but it is possible. But I'm aware of the risk that I'm taking. And I think Solana is going to be here for years and years and years to come. And so I'm willing to add some more Solana to my bag during periods like this where everybody's all scared and everybody's all worried. And so that's why I simply just added some SOL to my bag. And then lastly, I added more Bitcoin to maintain my ratios. So as I mentioned to you earlier, whenever I created this beginner portfolio, my goal with it is to make it simple and very, very risk-free. I didn't want to take any huge risks. I didn't want to do anything like that. And the way in which I do that is by making Bitcoin roughly 40 to 50% of my total positions. And if you do look at the portfolio, I am still sitting majoritively in cash, about $8,875 in cash, but Bitcoin does make up roughly 50% of that portfolio. And I wanted to keep it that way. So if I was going in and I was buying a little Solana for $75, which was going to bring the total portfolio size up a little bit, well, then obviously I needed to add a little bit more Bitcoin to be able to maintain my ratio of keeping Bitcoin anywhere from 40 to 50% of the total portfolio to kind of mitigate any risks that we would take throughout the bear market and stuff like that. And so overall, I only bought Bitcoin because I bought some Solana, because again, I want to maintain my ratios here. And those were the moves that I made. It's just that simple. Do you see how everything that I did here today wasn't overcomplicated? It wasn't this all big confusing puzzle and complex thing where, I tried to basically make you think that I know something you don't know. No, it's literally as simple as, well, I thought that buying a pre-sale right now, because the price can't go down right now, when everything else's price is going down, made sense. I reinvested some back into SWE because it's down a good bit from when I took profit. I added more to Ando because we're back in my average cost and I wanted to just get my bag size a little bigger. I bought a little Solana because everyone's scared of it. And since I bought Solana and it's my beginner portfolio, I bought a little Bitcoin. That's it. It's not complicated. It doesn't have to be this whole big complex puzzling thing. It's literally just that simple. And so with that in mind, those are the changes that I made. I don't really have any more ideas for what I'm going to do for the rest of the week. I honestly don't think I'm going to make really any more changes. We're seeing a decently green day today, but I doubt it's like, I'm not really falling for it. I'll just kind of have to wait this thing out. I really don't know what the next couple of days and weeks are going to look like. And so I really want to let it play out a little bit more before making any big moves. As you can see, None of the main moves that I made over my main portfolio were big. Little bit of reinvestment there, little bit of addition there, little bit of a gamble there. No big purchases, no big trades, no leverage trades, nothing like that. I am just keeping it pretty chill, pretty simple until we do get a little bit more clarity. And so, with that in mind, as I did mention before, if you guys do want to be able to see when I am making these changes and purchases in real time, you can go ahead and check out the Discord server, which will be linked down below. What you're going to find is, of course, access to our school, the Crypto Strategy School. And in the Crypto Strategy School, guys, you get a bunch. You get insights from people like myself, Connor Kenny, Aaron Bennett, 4 of our different coaches, in which they're giving you their own insights and thoughts as to what the market is doing. We get daily newsletters from guys like John. We get daily updates from guys like Bulls. You're going to get pro trade signals, in which a team of professional traders provides their buy and sell signals every day, daily analysis, community trade signals, live trading sessions, and much more. I mean, the list goes on and on. But the whole point of this entire server is to help people generate their strategies, because the name is Crypto Strategy School. Because quite frankly, during times like this in the market, strategies are what make you the realest gains. Strategies are what get you going. I mean, look, just since yesterday, it's not been very good the last 24 hours, look at the amount of gains that this community is printing. It's absolutely ridiculous. Hundreds of percentages of gains, hundreds of thousands of dollars in gains being printed by this community over and over and over again. And so if you are somebody who wants to join in on this and get in on this, you can join with a couple different options, which will be linked down below. There's a $5 a month option, $17 a month, and $100 a month, all available for you there if you do want to check it out. And last but not least, if you do want to start trading today, although I am not personally leverage trading, if you want to start leverage trading, you can use the WEEX platform. It is very good, very clean, very easy to use. They have a bunch of different options for you. They have demo trading. They have everything you need to really start progressing as a trader. And the best part about it is, if you do sign up with my link today, you will get up to $30,000, and that is available in the description down below. And so overall, feel free to go check all that out. Don't forget to follow me over on Twitter if you do want to, at Tyler Hill YT, where we post a whole bunch of extra insights and thoughts and stuff throughout the day. And don't forget to, of course, subscribe, like the video, all the good stuff. I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. I know it was a little bit longer, but sometimes I like to kind of just ramble a bit. And so if you do enjoy, again, please do smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.